Hey everybody, and welcome to the Marketing Blender. I'm Dacia Coffey.
And I'm Daisy McCarty.
So excited to have you back since we've been rotating in new co-hosts, so this is so exciting.
It is, and I've been enjoying all the content from our other CMOs. It's amazing watching the team grow.
Same here. I just love getting to dive into their ideas and their different points of view. It's so fun. But interesting, today we're really kind of tackling a personal issue. And so today's topic is about how can B2B marketers escape their endless to-do lists? And we're talking about this because this is so common.
It's universal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there have been a couple clients. One of your clients we graduated really comes to mind where probably beyond the outcomes, the equivalent value was that she didn't quit. Right. And that you were able to help her get unburied. And that company would have really been devastated to have lost her. And we see this all the time where marketers are just buried and they know they can be doing higher value, higher joy work, and they don't know how to get there.
That's true. They're swamped and they're smart, they're skillful. I don't think I've ever actually met a lazy marketing leader. Like it's not that. It's never, I want to do less work. It's always, I'm drowning, help me.
Exactly. And, I like to give voice, although it's frustrating to have to do that many marketers are feeling like they're being set up for failure and they're trying so hard and they're so busy and then they're getting no validation, whether in outcomes or from leadership or from a sense of completion or progress. And this is a problem because, to your point, these are smart, savvy, hardworking people, and there's got to be a better way.
We've got to stop burning them out.
Exactly. Okay, so why does this problem actually happen? Well, let me start out with the fact that marketing has so many different options, if you will, of what to work on, and oftentimes there's no structure for which one takes priority. Number one, because we haven't talked about it with leadership, but number two, because a lot of times in marketing, everything feels like priority, and so it's very difficult to separate urgent from important.
Yes, opportunity does not equal priority.
No.
You have to prioritize your opportunities, and it's hard to do. Also, everything is always changing, and in marketing, it changes faster than almost anywhere else. And we're seeing sales having to change, but seriously, the amount of change from marketing 10 years ago versus sales 10 years ago, it's exponentially more rapid in terms of change. So remaining just competent is incredibly difficult. The goalposts are always moving.
Yeah, absolutely. And marketing is getting more and more specialized, right? And so and AI is not solving that.
No.
It's actually increasing that. And so there was a time where you could be an SEO specialist. I guarantee a year from now we'll be doing an episode where we're dissecting all the different specializations of SEO that AI has now created in the workflow of today's world. And we see that with automation, with writing. I mean, even content creation is so different. We now have email mastery, which is wildly different than social media effectiveness, which is wildly different from pretty much all of the other genres. And a lot of times there are single marketers trying to tackle it all.
That's true. I think one of the other things that makes this difficult, and this is not to point fingers, we love our CEOs that we work with. They're very driven. There's also the aspect of that where nothing is ever enough. Because they push themselves so hard, they have difficulty stopping and recognizing, okay, you know what, we've increased our marketing effectiveness and our impact on revenue an amazing amount in the last 12 months. Let's stop and recognize that versus, well, what have you done for me lately? What are you doing now? What are you doing now? Well, you got that taken care of. Here are the other 3 things that are on my to-do list that I want you to take on. So it's very hard to feel like there's progress when it's always, yeah, but what's next?
Agreed. And I think a compliment to that one, a negative one, unfortunately, is when we've got an extremely visionary CEO or somebody who really has a craving and a voice and a charisma capable of intentional thought leadership. And so they're the ones waking up at 2 a.m. with an idea. And I just saw a competitor do this, or wow, there's this new cool thing that I was reading about in Innovation Today or whatever. And the prioritization component is, well, if the boss wants it, that just hit the top of the priority list. separate from the to-do list that was already existing, the strategic, thinking, if there's time to do that.
You said separate from, I think you mean in addition to.
Yes, exactly.
In addition to.
Exactly.
And I think sometimes the challenge that marketers have is having the conversation around, these are the things that actually make progress. And these are the things that look cool or feel good in the moment. Yeah. And it's up to marketing leaders to have the discipline to say, you want the bridge built from here to that amazing future, we've got to get the infrastructure in place first.
Yeah, and you know what, it's interesting because data can actually aggravate that if there's not a data narrative that everybody agrees on. And so, for instance, there are certain times in different types of companies where data week to week, like a week over week comparison, is appropriate. In marketing, that is rarely appropriate. And so if you're set up in a culture that's structured like that, it is very difficult to lose the anchoredness where you can prove impact. Because if somebody's expecting to see week over week, then you start shrinking your focus to immediacy, which can really kill long term. But it's that internal communication that can be so difficult.
Very true. So I think that all comes down to leadership doesn't always know what marketing should be doing. It's very poorly defined still. And it's becoming, to your point around specialization, more and more difficult to figure out, okay, I have a marketer, what are they supposed to be doing for me?
Yeah.
So that's, well, I guess they do everything.
Exactly.
Welcome to the monster to-do list.
Exactly, which is exactly why we did that episode on job descriptions and types of marketers. But I absolutely love that. And then, of course, I kind of hinted at this, but as the last one, AI is not going to solve this. It only adds complexity. Now, it can build in efficiency in certain places, but again, without that hierarchy of why and when and what are we using it for and what are we trying to accomplish, the pace of change is only accelerating, which then aggravates all of this.
Yes, and marketers across the board are being asked to do more with less. And now, well, magically, here's a tool that means, of course, we should have these expectations that you're going to do 100 times more with the same amount of money or less money because, well, AI can just do it for you.
Yes.
No, no, it cannot.
No, it cannot. No, it cannot. Okay, so let's talk real quickly about what's on many marketers' to-do lists. I think this is important in order to kind of clarify the kind of specialization, and this is not an exhaustive list, of course, but obviously marketing assets. We need a case study, we need a presentation, we need an RFP, we need a pitch deck, we need a trade show booth, we need collateral, we need swag, but things that help communicate the message for the sales team or for any other public figure.
And of course, that stuff, as I call it, it has to be created, and not every single piece of marketing asset is equally valuable. And a lot of it comes down to, in the moment, I need a thing for this. Well, if you don't need a thing for that and the 10 meetings you're having after that, then marketing probably shouldn't be prioritizing it.
Yeah, and one thing I see with this a lot of times is a marketer will say, I want to build templates, I want to build a repeatable process. That's amazing thinking, and when does it finally hit prioritization? Because you're constantly having to run those immediate requests instead of being able to zoom out and go, okay, let me find the time to solve this, in a repeatable process. It's very difficult, but the repeatable processes are oftentimes on the list, albeit at the bottom.
Right. And dovetailing with marketing assets, content creation. So beyond those repeatable pieces, you've got the constant flood of social media and video and blog content and all the other aspects of content marketing that have to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's given more priority than it should be, and sometimes it's not given enough priority. And it's really hard, again, to say, how is this strategically moving our marketing forward versus are we just getting stuff out the door because it's Wednesday and that's when we always do XYZ.
Yeah. We also see this with when there's a product launch. Operations can oftentimes accidentally compartmentalize away from marketing. And so then the marketing team gets it and the launch is a month away, and now we need content on the website in addition to all the marketing assets, and they've never even talked to the product manager because they didn't know the deadline. So the content can come from so many different places. So then, of course, content makes me immediately think digital marketing. So not just the organic that we're talking about, but whether it's SEO, organic, and blogs and keyword research to make the content effective, or if it's paid campaigns, whether it's Google ads or paid social media or building marketing funnels or building email lists. Wow.
Yes, and it's never set it and forget it. And it's one of those aspects where specialization matters so much, because when you turn on that spigot with your ad budget, that money's never coming back.
No.
You don't get to recoup it if you launch something too fast or didn't go in and optimize it.
Exactly. And so that, for me, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, is reporting, right? Because if you're doing paid media or any kind of digital marketing, leadership's going to expect reporting, but that is its own bucket. That doesn't happen automatically. You have to actually go and look and then analyze and think and hopefully maybe put it in a scorecard or some sort of presentation deck and have thinking around it and why, what context does that progress mean in regards to the company goal. So it's its own huge bucket that can be a major source of stress for people.
For sure. Trade shows and conferences are another item on the marketing to-do list that are also very urgent, and people are spending a lot of money on them. There are time deadlines that you have to meet, so they tend to be sucking time away from all the other things that marketing leaders could be doing. And often, a lot of the things around trade show marketing shouldn't be marketing leadership doing it. These are repeatables that can be delegated throughout the rest of the organization. However, there's also the option to say, trade show marketing, we know we're going to do it 2 or 3 times a year. This is something we can have run externally, because all of that negotiation, all the setup, all the repeatables, those are things that can actually be extracted from the larger marketing strategy and run kind of as a standalone. But you have to be aware of how much time it's going to take to build the strategy and then delegate for execution.
It's a time killer of everything. Events are so tough. So I've got 2 other ones that commonly show up, and I'm going to put them together weirdly. So number 1 is marketing automation. So we're thinking the management, the setup, the optimization of things like HubSpot or its integration with the CRM such as Salesforce, and it doesn't matter whether it's Zoho or ActiveCampaign or SharpSpring or any of the other ones. These are not set it and forget it. They're also very difficult to set up, and there's a lot of missteps that can happen. Also, they launch features, and the more your automation works, the clunkier lists get, if they're not set up correctly, there's just a lot more to-do lists that end up stacking inside of that, and then there's increasing specialization. Now, the second one that I was going to add is AI, because there's a learning process to AI as well, and I'm seeing frequently that sometimes marketing is the one where they're like, hey, can you launch some AI initiatives? And wow, not scary at all. And they're even saying things like, teach our team something, or we heard that we can be using this on social media for content creation. Can you take that on and figure out how to make us AI forward? Wholly overwhelming. And, like the tools themselves, just like HubSpot, they sound like this end all be all, but there is significant management of the tools and significant learning in order to optimize those tools. And so that's why I like to put that automation and the AI together, because the feeling and the process and the overwhelm behind them is very similar. And now we don't even know where AI is going.
And isn't it funny that it is almost always marketing that's asked to be the first? And part of it's because the large language learning module, the way that it's built is mostly around communication at this time.
Yes.
But I'd like to see a B2B company that takes AI and implements it in ops first.
Yeah.
Like, that would give the leadership a very different perspective on strategic use of AI, so that when they come to marketing, they're like, these are the outcomes that we want to drive.
Oh,
we understand
so
how the tool works, what it can do and what it can't do. Go for it.
Exactly.
Different conversation than, oh, we heard AI can do your job.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, the last one on the list, not exhaustive list, but the last one on the list we have is sales enablement. This is the monster that can eat every other priority, because it can be nonstop if there's no boundaries, if there's no clarity, if there's no prioritization, if there's no repeatables. This one is so detrimental to stress and to-do lists, because it literally won't ever end if there hasn't been some structure created around the marketing and sales alignment.
And I would say sales enablement is one of my favorite things to do, because it makes companies more money, and more revenue makes marketing look amazing. And Happy to write the scripts, happy to create the templates. Not our job to train the sales team, not our job to hold them accountable, not our job to have one-off conversations around, well, this customer emailed me with this, I don't know what to say. Talk to your boss.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a communicator, but that's not the role. So it can definitely start eating into all the time.
And while there's no standard, balance, we always see 75% of a team and a budget, 90%, 95% is sales. And then marketing is a team of one, or some freelancers, or an agency and one person, and it's a smaller percentage of the overall growth and acquisition cost. But every salesperson is allowed access to that single marketer. So that process alone, could be cleaned up for improvement. Okay, you brought up an amazing point while we were prepping on what's rarely on the to-do list that actually should be, and like kind of the opportunity cost of this.
Right. So for you marketers out there, when's the last time you built your to-do list for the day, the week, or the month, and there was a line item on there for strategy? Usually it's just tactics, just tasks, just assign this, review that, create this. Very rarely is strategy prioritized. It might be, hey, once a year we're having the big strategic meeting where I guess magically all the strategy happens and is never looked at again until the next year. But there needs to be time on that to-do list that's blocked off for strategic thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that alone, that's where we want to get you to. And this is career building.
Yes.
When they shift this. Okay, so this is going to feel very much like Captain Obvious. But I want to rattle through like the detriment, like the additional detriment of why this endless to-do list for B2B marketers is so difficult. So obviously, there's time management issues where they're constantly switching and they can't be efficient. Most marketers that I talk to always feel like they're missing something, like that, would I forget what I do? So then there's a blur. Oftentimes we're checking email after work and we're constantly available, but never getting strategic. There's also being put in situations where it's not your natural alignment with your strengths, right? So for instance, if somebody's not great at video editing, that might take you hours, whereas for somebody where that was easy for them, it might only take them 30 minutes, or 45 minutes, versus you have a specialization in digital marketing and that's highest and best use. But instead you're pulled thin across everything with equal prioritization. And so it's very difficult to build your own career and your own skill set when you're supposed to be good at everything, even though none of us are.
I think I feel personally called out by all the things you just said. Definitely recognize. So we're speaking from a space of personal experience here. This is what we have been through for many, many years, and something that we now help our clients move out of. We worked with a lot of marketing managers and marketing directors and marketing leaders. There is a way out. So now we're going to get into it. A couple more things that make this difficult. We mentioned the specialization, technology. Beyond AI, just the nuts and bolts tech has been so difficult to keep up with. And then just that feeling of, what do I say to leadership? Even if it's not to keep my job, how do I stand up and feel good about what I'm doing in the face of, well, what about this and what about this?
I'm so glad you mentioned that one. Huge. The weight of that when you feel like you're defending your work versus, which for marketing can be highly vulnerable. We put so much of our personal abilities into it instead of the offering and the value that you're driving towards. It's so hard. Okay, but the good news is that you can fix this. So here's the bad news. We're not talking to your boss about how to fix this. That's a different episode. We're talking to you. You as a marketer, what can you do now to get unburied and start getting back to loving your job and being really excited about what's possible? So what's the first big bucket that you would advise people on?
The first one is about getting strategic. And this is something you have to collaborate with leadership around.
Yeah.
And I would highly recommend that when you have those strategic conversations, everything is written down and reported back and confirmed. Because it's easy for priorities to shift and change. There has to be alignment around what are the actual business goals. and then what are the marketing objectives to reach those. And then you can decide, prioritizing the different tactics around that. But once you have agreement on the goals, as the marketing leader, you are the one who's identifying these are the efforts, with data to back it up, with benchmarking, with the rationale for that, and then building the scorecard. How are we going to track it? This makes leaders very, very comfortable when they're like, okay, this person heard me on what the goals are. They've identified 3 to 5 things that make sense to work on in the next 3 to 6 months, and this is how I'll know if it's working. So there's accountability and there's visibility that makes those follow-up conversations much easier. And then from the beginning, as you're building out your list of marketing efforts, understand how you're going to communicate about the outcomes. Good, bad, or ugly, all of it. Not just how am I going to spin this so I don't get, tossed into the fire, but how am I going to communicate about what's working, what's not working, why, how do we shift, and then what's next.
Oh my gosh, I love this 1-2 punch that you're outlining. So after hearing about your strategic goals, Daisy just identified a to-do list that's not overwhelming for you, or an action item, and it's build your scorecard immediately, even if it's simple, so that you have something that you can go back to over and over and over. The second thing that she mentioned was naming the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's just data, right? And that includes knowns and unknowns. But I do see this step skipped. I feel like people think build the scorecard last, and I want them to see build the scorecard first, because going back to that month after month can really help clarify for leadership and that marketer, oh, this is where my real impact is. This is what leadership is actually getting excited about.
Hey, Marketing Blender listeners, we have something exciting to share with you.
Our traditional YouTube show and podcast is expanding. We're going to be doing deeper dives on career, technology, innovations, and the stories behind amazing campaigns on our show.
Sometimes we have these conversations that are incredible, amazing. They've got wonderful ideas behind them, but don't quite fit within our traditional model here on The Blender Show.
Yes, a perfect example of that is career advice. We get a lot of questions about that. We also get a lot of questions about AI and how things are changing and what to expect. And sometimes the best stuff is what we didn't say on camera. So this new evolution is where these moments get their chance to shine.
Think of this as our creative workshop, where we get to explore everything from breaking into the marketing industry to innovative leadership approaches, even interviews with CEOs, but all within the high quality insights you've come to expect from the Blender team.
And the best part, everything's self-contained. Whether it's a single episode on a very specific deep dive, or sometimes we will be even doing mini series, you'll be able to get exactly what you want, when you want, where you want it.
You'll be able to find this as a playlist on all of your favorite platforms, the same place that you already get the Marketing Blender Show.
Oh, and tip, there is going to be some subscriber-only content, so little benefit for you that follow us every week.
So hit that subscribe button, stay tuned, and we'll see you guys soon.
What's the next one?
Okay, so prioritization. After being strategic, you have to prioritize, because even in incredibly important strategic initiatives, there's different levels of prioritization. And this is critical to your time management, but also your communication to leadership and their buy-in. So prioritization is not easy. Like, I think we need to say that out loud.
Yes. Especially for those of us who had to learn how to say no to things. So it is all about, gun to your head.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Because you can't do it all. You're faced with the impossible unless you prioritize.
Absolutely. So prioritization, I want to see it start with, okay, the strategically named goals of the company, and then what projects on your to-do list directly align with that. Kind of almost as check-in buckets, weekly or monthly, where you're like, okay, what projects am I moving forward on those? So that's one level of prioritization. I think also, though, there is an impact versus output type of matrix that is helpful in prioritization so that you can create progress, but more importantly, so you can make sure that you're in agreement with leadership. I don't think all leadership, because they're not marketers, understands how much lift or how difficult a build of certain types of campaigns really are, what the resources are. And I want to see low lift, high impact, and then movement and discussion around, okay, when there's big lift and medium to low, or maybe late, deferred impact. What do we want to do about this? Because I think those big, sexy projects get a lot of attention, but then there's no conversation around what's it going to take to build that, and what do we have to say no to, And so I do want to see kind of like this time management, almost self-protective thinking around what's it going to take and resource allocation to get something done.
For sure. And I would say websites are one of the things that tend to be high effort, often very low impact. Now, I have some clients right now where new website is absolutely the thing. New brand launch, you better have a new website. It better look the way it needs to create the right brand experience. But often website revamps, we just need to overhaul the whole thing. Really, why?
Why? If you only
Why
have
do you want
200
to do
people
that?
visiting your website, no, you don't.
Welcome to 6 months later.
Yeah.
Where's the revenue impact on that? So,
Yeah.
yes, definitely that impact and effort matrix. I use that all the time with my clients to explain, this is why your roadmap looks like it does. This is why we're not even touching this thing until 6 months from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was mentioning earlier, like talking about strategic alignment to what leadership is saying. Now, sometimes that's murky waters, right? Because leadership might say, we want to look better than our competitors. Okay, that's really hard to quantify, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you could take it off your list, but it's hard to quantify. So, but one of the other things that leadership won't say that I want to see a marketer being really proactive is, again, diving into the scorecard, and I want them to answer, what are our lead sources? Because no matter what, every marketer on the planet will be held accountable for leads. And so you need to know, what are our lead sources? Google, SEO, trade shows, cold calling, referrals, word of mouth and brand reputation, account-based marketing, or like whale chasing, if you will. I mean, there's dozens. We've done tons of episodes on what different types of lead sources are. But typically a company has, God forbid, 1 or 2 referrals and word of mouth, all the way up to 7, 8, 9, 10. And that clarifying for themselves then rolls up into their reporting, their scorecard, and their conversations with leadership, where they can say, how do these impact our lead sources? And is it a distraction from leads, or is it an amplification for our lead output?
I think the last thing I want to talk about in this particular section around prioritization is you have to learn how to say no without getting fired.
Yeah.
And in my experience, it's all about helping leaders say no to themselves. So if I'm having a conversation, I've got a CEO who comes in and says, I've got this amazing idea. And sometimes they are amazing ideas. It's not that they have bad ideas. It's that they're changing what they say they want. So we go back through, here's our prioritization matrix, effort and impact. Where does this fall?
Yeah.
Make them say it.
Yes.
And if we're shifting something else, here's our quarterly roadmap. Next 90 days, these are the things we committed to accomplishing. Which one of these is going to be pushed to next quarter or the quarter after that?
Yes.
And then they have to get real about, I want the shiny thing. I want the pretty thing. But I remember I also want to pay my mortgage and have food on the table and
keep my job.
all the things that CEOs who are practical at the end of the day.
Yes.
Either they're high revenue, high profitability, high business stability, or they're not. So when you remind them of what's important, then it's easier for them to say no to themselves and practice the self-discipline that's going to make your job easier.
Oh, I love this. And I want to point out 2 things implicit in what you're saying. You're starting with unity. You're starting with, here's what we all want, and here's what we're trying to achieve, right? Mm-hmm. Not defensiveness, not how am I supposed to get all this done, which unfortunately is how it accidentally comes out a lot of times. And then also you're starting with questions. You're not starting with answers. And I feel like as marketers, because we are doers and we're learners and we have to get stuff done, that we put on ourselves this implicit idea that we have to know everything and have all the answers. But when you start with unity and then you ask questions and you're asking for support and clarification, now it's collaborative. Now it takes the weight off of you, starts creating alignment. But there is an art to question asking and an art to doing this that does not happen on accident. Like I can't speak for you. I can speak for myself in learning how to say no and learning how to be a better leader, title or not, but even just a leader inside of my own disciplines and circles of influence. I had to study a lot. I would sit down and prep. How am I opening this conversation? I would write down notes. I've read the book Crucial Conversations so many times and multiple others so many times, but I had to find my style that actually opened the door to collaboration and alignment. And what it also did is open the door to mentorship for me too, because questions allow people to go, oh my gosh, I see what you're saying. Okay, let's think about that together. And it can be profoundly beneficial professionally.
I would say out of all the conversations our CMOs have with each other, because we coach and mentor each other, 50% of those are about, I'm about to have a conversation.
Yes.
Help me walk through this. What do I say? How do I frame this? How do I get the person I'm talking to in a receptive mindset so we can have a productive conversation that has an outcome that works for everyone?
Yes, and I want our marketers to hear, like we're talking about chief marketing officers who have been in front of the board, like the firing squad of boards, of investors in pitch scenarios. I mean, like in heated arguments with CROs. I mean, we are battle-weary soldiers, with a lot of experience in these leadership conversations, and it's still incredibly important. And you're right, there's not a single person on our team that is not constantly asking for coaching and prepping for these conversations. So I love that. Okay, so the next one we have on here is, after prioritization, is delegation. Is everything on your to-do list actually yours, my B2B marketers? The answer is probably not.
For sure.
This one's surprising, I think, to a lot of people, but it does take time to go through and ask myself, why am I doing this?
Yes. And I think once you've had the strategy conversations and the prioritization conversations, you're really well set up to have the delegation.
Yeah.
Because if leadership says we want all the things, okay, we've agreed that all of these things are important. These are the resources that are required. So you have several different ways you can go with delegation. First one is delegating to an outside marketing agency. Now, or an outsourced fractional CMO agency if you want more of the strategy in that. And that's when you need something that is strategic, that has systems built into it, that you need skills across more than one discipline. And you need a partner that's going to take accountability for outcomes.
Yeah.
So that's an agency role.
Yes.
Second one is freelancers. You need a specific skill set, but it's task oriented, and they're not the ones holding ultimate accountability for the outcome. So use those to plug in the gaps. Make sure you're not relying too much on one specific freelancer, because they can leave at any time. They're free. Yay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you need to be managing that process. So it's basically the same as bringing on another team member that you're responsible for managing. And, they are not going to be there forever. So thinking about strategically using your freelancers. And then sometimes it's technology that solves the problem.
Yeah.
Once again, not all technology does the things that you think it does, or
Nope.
that your leadership thinks it does. But sometimes there are pieces that you can put in place. CRM is the number one piece of technology that we see. Maybe you already have one, but you're not using it the way that it needs to be used. That's the place to start with, looking at what can I delegate into a technology system that I can still have visibility into that will help reduce that daily workload.
Yeah. I was having, just case in point of everything you're talking about, I was having a mentorship conversation with a brilliant young marketer at a very, very large B2B company. And they're making tons of acquisitions. She's the only marketer in the entire company. Her boss has shared responsibilities of marketing, and so lots of overwhelm. And she was saying to me, no, you don't understand. They won't spend money on anything. I'm like, oh no, that's not what you just said. They're buying companies. They're making investments all the time. I can see their public facing communication. No, they definitely will. The key is she's never asked, and she's super scared to ask because she feels like it will make her look less than. And I know they will be devastated if they lose her. Like, she's remarkable. But it was a great case in point, because she has a core assumption about what she believes about leadership, and no leadership believes that you can get something for nothing. Now, I'm not saying they always speak and talk logically and perfectly every time, but a company like that that's achieved a lot, they've gone through the bumps and the bruises, and those type of leaders, they know there's investment to be made. They're just assuming their team is going to tell them. They're not going to just offer it up. How much do you want me to spend? Or what kind of budget do you need? That's not how it goes. You always have to ask.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. A company that's in the middle of acquisition after acquisition, growth budget is one of their most important line items.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's when you align with this is part of the same thing. You have a growth plan. This is what it takes.
Alignment. Absolutely. Okay. Next we have systemization. I love this one. This one is tough. I don't think because it's difficult for people to understand. I think systemization is tough because it takes time to think about what you could systematize. And so it's you deciding, I'm going to spend a couple hours finding my repeatables or learning a piece of technology or watching a YouTube video and then applying that. But holy game changer, Batman. This one is a really big deal and just backing away. So, what are some of the things that you've learned to systematize in your own to-do list?
So I'm pretty sure that everyone knows me as the queen of the templates. So anytime that I can do something once instead of 10 times 10 different ways, making a template, making a process, documenting it, and putting it away for next time, that's the number one thing that I do is create repeatable templates, creative briefs, spreadsheets, reporting decks, all the things. So that's the first thing that I'll do in order to make sure the next time I'm changing 20% of something instead of doing 100% of something. I definitely use my calendar very strategically to make sure that I have time allocated for each of the things that I need to do, and that as much as possible, it's the same week to week. This is the day that I do this, or this is the day of the month. I'm going to update all my scorecards on this day.
That's such a great example.
Every time, I know it's my least meetings of the weekday, so that's always taken care of. And then, making sure that I'm taking advantage of automation where it makes sense.
Yeah.
So is there something that, and I'm not the wizard of automation like our project manager Ryan is. He does amazing things with that. But as much as I can, I'm going to look at how can I make this automatically triggered.
Absolutely. And I love that you brought up Ryan, because one of the things I'd add to this is people have to learn how to do this. There are certain personalities, yours would be one of them, where this comes really naturally because of natural talents and giftings and strengths. This was something that was not natural to me in my career, but became a discipline that really unleashed more creativity in me once I realized how to lock that down. But I had to learn, from watching people like you, right now I have a whole list of questions that I'm going to start booking time with on Ryan to help me figure out how do I get on the path where AI can help me solve very specific automated situations. And sometimes the question is going to go, who should I follow? What tool should I be using? So then I can keep going down. But I really want people, and they're going to hear this more and more, learn's got to be on the list. And you mentioned it, if you have a portion of your month or your week that's just a teeny bit less quiet, it needs to go there. And it's a commitment to self, to just save your sanity and really drive your professional career.
One thing I always notice about you is that there's always a book that you're reading. Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yes.
A stack. Podcasts that you're listening to, the people that you're bringing in to help spark your ideas.
Yeah.
Any, couple of titles you want to share on the podcast?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, if we're going to stay on this one, Getting Things Done, it's an oldie but a goodie, but it really helped me organize my to-do list, organize my calendar, and organize my thinking about the nature of tasks. So that was amazing. I don't know if they've updated a version of it. Chances are they have, but oh my gosh, so good. And then you're right, I've got an endless one, and it's actually been challenging for me because I'm having to lean more into asking other people because there's not go-to resources on AI, or I personally don't have trusted resources yet on how to learn certain types of automation. And so that's been tricky for me because I don't want to steal busy people's time, but I'm like, no, there's got to be a giver and a receiver. And so I'm actually leaning more into trying to find mentors of all shapes, sizes, and, collaborators to challenge my learning so that then I can share it too. So yeah.
I would say my counterpoint to the continuous learning cycle is I have to take a break and just implement sometimes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the amount of information that's flooding in all the time, it's creating mental to-do items. Well, I need to learn more about that. I better figure out that. I'm creating more overwhelm than I need to.
That's
so
a great point.
I have people recommend books to me, and I'm like, not this year.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
It's just not going to happen because I'm developing mastery through actually executing and figuring out what works in the context that I'm living in.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good one. I love that. No, since we're on learn, I think it's a great segue into one of our final ones, which is, getting on top of your endless to-do list is around personal mastery and remembering that you need to be slightly self-protective, if not very self-protective, in order to bring your highest and best value to the organization, like to your role. Now, I think we all talk about work-life balance, which that's a weird phrase, but we all talk about the need for self-care. I think most of us agree it's really, really difficult, but we need to get outside of even that paradigm of taking care of ourselves, and that when we develop personal mastery, it is actually great for our bosses and our jobs, because boundaries are inherently built in this. So, we have a whole bunch of them. I'm actually going to turn the first one over to you because I think I learned a lot about this from you around understanding a circadian rhythm and kind of your natural flow in your day, in your week. So talk to me a little bit about why that matters.
Sure. So shout out to Erica Stanulis from Follow the Sun on this one. Her coaching business is all about this particular thing. She was a client of mine a number of years ago. So that's how I learned about the concepts of understanding where are your energy and focus levels during your day and during your week. It's not the same for everyone. Some people are, I want to get out and do my morning run at 6 o'clock in the morning. And some people are like, I wait till everybody goes to bed and it's 11 o'clock at night and that's when I have my best time. But understanding what your rhythms are. So you understand I am not going to go, for example, and read through a bunch of email first thing in the morning and feel immediately like now 500 more people want something from me. Or it's about, I know that after lunch, I feel happy, my belly is full, I'm going to do some stuff that I can just crank out, one after another and get those off my to-do list. And then I think for strategic thinking for marketers, what is the time when you have the most creative energy?
Yes.
Don't spend that on writing social copy. No, spend that on the things that are going to move the needle for the organization at the highest level.
Oh my gosh, don't ever spend that on email. 100%. And also, I love this, for me, not a recommendation, but for me, I love individual deep thinking work, but a lot of times I was notorious for putting it after I'd finished everything, kind of as a reward. But it didn't end up being a reward. So I am most focused and clear thinking and strategic in the morning. And if I put it in the afternoon, it actually zaps my energy. Whereas if I put it in the morning, I'm so fired up. I'm very efficient. I'm very sharp. And same thing with meetings. Meetings give me a lot of energy unless they're in the morning. So yeah, and I know they don't for you.
Yeah, meetings are the worst.
but so in the morning, I have a lot of natural energy, and so the meetings end up taking it from me where it would have been best applied. But meetings give me energy, and in the afternoon, I'm a little lower energy. So then hearing people and focusing more on questions and collaboration and organization of topics gives me energy. And I'm like, it's just that simple thing. Same exact stuff on my to-do list, same exact outcome at the end of the week, supposedly. Wildly different effort and thinking put into each one of those, but it had to fall into my personal pattern. So, okay, we mentioned this one earlier, so I'm going to blow through it a little bit quickly. We both time block. Time block your calendar based on your highest and best use. I could go on and on and on, but this one's just so critical. And I don't want to see 1 hour time blocks. I do want to challenge people to have at least, it's hard to get them buried, but at least a couple 2-hour minimum time blocks in their week somewhere just to start out with so that they can be uninterrupted. And a twin sister to this one, all email, all text notifications, all dings, all teamwork stuff off.
Yes.
Teams off, all notifications on silent. so that, because none of us, our brains are not wired to be able to look away or pay attention or read something and then get straight back in. Like that's a lie. So I do, and even if it's baby steps, one time block in a week. I just want to see that because it's a game changer for focusing on the on the right priorities.
All right. So I think the story that we tell ourselves about our to-do list is just as important as what's actually on it.
Oh, I love this.
So what's the narrative that you're creating around your marketing to-do list? Now, if your narrative is, why am I doing this stuff? None of it matters. Then you need to look at your prioritization. So go back and actually fix that first. But when you're thinking about, is this actual overwhelm? Like, do I not have enough time? Do I not have enough energy for this? Or is there a story I've told myself about, well, last time I tried to do this, I ran into these roadblocks. So what is going to come up this time? Or, is there something you're concerned about in the future? Well, I'm going to do this, but I'm not sure it's going to work out right. Understanding what are the hidden fears and desires in your to-do list and surfacing those so you can process them. So you can look at your to-do list just as these are the things I'm doing without all the emotional charge that's on each one of those. You're going to be much more productive.
Yes. Magic bubbles. That one's so big. Okay, I also want to see you time blocking for metrics and reporting. And honestly, I'm not going to ask you to love this if this is not your natural strength. I'm also not going to let you off the hook for making sure that you are progressing in your career. No marketer, no matter how creative, no matter how artistic, gets off the hook for metrics. And guess what? A lot of it is about fear that's holding us back and why we don't dive in, because it's not our natural language. It is a game changer. And so just blocking time, and let me tell you, if somebody's trying to interrupt you, especially a boss, and you say, well, right now I'm trying to pull together our scorecard, or I'm looking at our digital marketing metrics, trust me, they're typically going to go, wow, yeah, okay, this can move, as long as you're going back to that conversation and trying to get alignment. So that's a really important one because it's a personal discipline you need to build. And then the other one is kind of a combination. I want you to reward yourself for progress. And I think, Daisy, rewards can come in different ways, shapes, and forms. I literally have used certain tasks on my list as a reward to myself, because maybe it's something that I'm like, oh, I've been wanting to learn that, do that, launch that, try that, work on. And I will go, okay, if I, say, for instance, spend an hour reporting and filling out my scorecard, then, next week or, that afternoon, I am giving myself permission that I am going to work on this and everything. And it's those little games you play, and I think it aligns with the narrative that we're talking about, where you kind of bring some joy and inspiration back to your work, even if you feel like your to-do list is just like this taskmaster just beating you down. There are places where you can put play and reward and significance back into your work without external validation.
But speaking of external validation, one thing that I've started doing, there's this common misconception. Well, it goes without saying. Well, it goes without saying that we're succeeding. It goes without saying that we're doing well. It's going without saying that we're winning. No, nothing goes without saying. Say it. So you'll see me email the team with, hey, we had this win. Hey, this thing went really well. Hey, this is a celebration. Toot your own horn. Toot your team's horn. Like, nobody is going to recognize it unless you say it. Trust me, everybody has their own giant to-do list, and recognizing when you're doing a great job and when things are going fantastic is not on their to-do list. It's your job to celebrate and to bring other people in to celebrate with you. And if you're not in a horrible, toxic work environment, it's actually an email that people like to get, because they're like, oh, we're winning as a company. Our brand looks good. Ooh, we had a customer that gave this amazing review on Google Reviews. Share that information. Sprinkle it out, so the whole team can enjoy and appreciate it. Because you know what? As marketers, we are actually the ones that are setting the communication tone for the brand. Own that and make sure that you're communicating that celebration and that progress to your team.
Yes, I love this. I have a folder of emails called nods and hurrahs. So anytime I see something come through, especially from a client, but from team members giving each other, I pull it in there. If I get one, if I'm having a bad day, or if I need to build anything for a speaker profile or anything testimonials, already right there. I've started creating simple documents per client, where if something's going good, I copy and paste that email, dump it into G Drive, and now I've got a running list of successes. And back in the day, before we had all of the cloud stuff, I had a mentor refer to it as a brag book, and like was just so intentional with me about any handwritten note, put it in the brag book, any email, print it and put it in the brag book, anything that you get, and that you are proud of, or that somebody gave you a shout out for. Doesn't matter if you think, oh, this is no big deal. Put it in the brag book. It's just so career building, and there's so much reflection that can happen. And there's just a lot to be said where you're like, yeah, it didn't go without saying. It was said that I did a good job, or I'm participating in something of worth and excellence. So, oh, that one's so good. You guys, we get it. You are under the tyranny of the urgent. We get it that marketing is difficult, and a lot of times you're the lone soldier in your organization. But you deserve better, and the endless to-do list of B2B marketing doesn't have to be like that, right? So we would love to hear if you've found tools, if you have questions, if you want to argue with us, bring your skepticism, post it in the comments. We would love to help you through this, because you have amazing work and your company needs you, and the world needs marketers to give authentic voice to the important things that we all stand for and how our work serves one another. So thank you so much for tuning this in. We really do love you, B2B marketers. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like, comment and engage with us, and we'll see you next week. Onward and upward.